Hey guys, I have a nice, quick, easy lesson for you guys today, all about reading and drawing graphs. So if you have some graph paper, now would be the time to get it out. Okay, so this is lesson 5.3, interpreting and sketching graphs. The first thing that you need to know when you're reading a graph is what the steepness of a slope means, so the steepness of the line. Essentially, the steeper the line, the greater the rate of change. So if you have a really steep line like this, that would be a high rate of change. A less steep line like this would be a lower rate of change. Horizontal lines, those are lines that are completely flat, have no rate of change. If a line is angled upwards like this, that is a positive rate of change. If it is angled downwards like this, that is a negative rate of change. We always read a line from left to right, the same way you read a sentence. So if you start on the left and go right and it's going down, that's negative. If you start on the left and go right and it's going upwards, that's positive. Okay, so this is a graph here. This is a distance time graph, which you guys might remember from physics if you took Science 10 with me. So there's just some questions over here to see if you know how to read this graph. It's all fairly straightforward. What distance away is the person at 20 minutes? So we just find 20 minutes, go up, and then go over to the distance, and it would be 6 kilometers. What is the time at the furthest distance away? Well, this is distance, so the furthest distance away would be the highest point, and the time would be about 10 minutes. Okay? You also have to be able to sketch a graph. So this is an example of a scenario that you might have to sketch the graph for. So start at home, then bike 2 kilometers in 5 minutes, stop at a light for 1 minute, bike 8 kilometers further in 14 minutes, and then stop at a store for 6 minutes. Lastly, bike home in 9 minutes. So let's look at what the graph for this might look like. So you always want to make sure that you have a title for your graph and that you label your axes, both with what is being measured and the unit that it's being measured in. You also want to make sure that you have the right variable on the right axis. So remember, your x-axis has to be the independent variable. Your y-axis has to be the dependent variable. If our two things that we're measuring are distance and time, time is always independent, so it goes on the x-axis. And then the distance traveled depends on how long you're traveling for. So the distance depends on the time. It is the dependent variable. That's why it goes on the y-axis. Then it says that we start at home. So home will be 0, 0. We then bike 2 kilometers in 5 minutes. So the distance has to be 2 kilometers after 5 minutes. So we get a point at 5, 2. Again, we always read our x and then y, so 5, 2. Then we stop at a light for 1 minute. So the distance doesn't change when we're stopped, just the time does. So a minute later, now it is 6, 2. From that point, it then says that we bike 8 kilometers further in 14 minutes. So right now we're 2 kilometers away. If we go 8 kilometers further, we're going to be 10 kilometers away. Right now we're also at 6 minutes. If we bike for 14 more minutes, that will be 20 minutes that we've been biking in total. So that's why the next point is at 20 minutes and 10 kilometers. So I was 2 kilometers away and then biked 8 more. I had been biking for 6 minutes and then biked 14 more. Then I stopped for 6 minutes. So again, at that point, my distance doesn't change. It stays at 10 kilometers away, but my time goes from 20 minutes to 26 minutes. And then after that, I am going to bike home. So I have to go all the way back down to 0 as a distance. and that happens in 9 minutes. So right now I was at 26 minutes. If I add 9 minutes to that, it will be 35 minutes in total I've been biking by the time I get home. So my last point is 35, 0. Okay, so that is how you would kind of graph a scenario like that. You might also be given a graph and asked to write a scenario, which would just be kind of doing these steps backwards. Okay, that is it for today's lesson. Let me know if you have any questions.